beautiful drive.
I love Durango. You had a house there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for several years.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Grew up there. Grew up in Gainesville.
You gotta get out of here.
Oh, no, I'm passing tonight. I mean, I guess technically.
You going back to Vegas?
Oh, yes.
Exciting.
But I'll be staying in Durango.
Time to start.
The regular meeting for the Aurora Urban Renewal Authority for Monday, April 7, 2025 is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Kaufman,
Here?
Commissioner Baca,
Here.
Commissioner Bergen, Commissioner Coombs,
Present.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Commissioner Hancock, Commissioner Drinsky.
Here.
That was him. Okay. Commissioner Casal,
Here.
Commissioner Lawson. Here. Commissioner Medina.
Here.
Commissioner Murillo,
Present.
Commissioner Sundberg,
Here.
Commissioner Watson.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Item number 4A, draft of Progressive Urban Management Association.
Minutes.
Are there minutes?
Yeah, 3A.
Okay, I don't have an updated
There you
one.
go.
Okay. Motion is in order for the approval of the minutes from
Mayor.
March 10th, 2025.
I move to approve those minutes.
Can I finish first? Okay, Commissioners, it's been moved by Commissioner Sundberg, seconded by Commissioner Watson, to approve the minutes for March 10, 2025. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, would clerk please call the roll on the approval of the minutes for March 10, 2025?
Commissioner Kaufman,
Yes.
Commissioner Baca,
I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Commissioner Bergen, Commissioner Coombs,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hancock,
Yes.
Commissioner Drinsky, Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Medina,
Yes.
Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Sundberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
The motion passes.
And Bergen's also back.
Oh, thank you.
Item number 4A, it passes, right?
Yes.
Okay, item number 4A, Progressive Urban Management Associates, Puma. Progress report.
Great. Good afternoon, AUR Commissioners. Laura Perry, Deputy City Manager. Today I'm joined by Progressive Urban Management Association. They are here today to provide you with an update on their work that they've been doing along Colfax to study the feasibility of a special district. And with that, they have been heavily engaging the community in a variety of roundtables and sessions. They will speak more to that. But tonight, you will hear an informational presentation around their work, and then the AOA commissioners who are on Aurora City Council during our study session tonight, you will be asked a formal question to move forward with the study. So with that, I'll introduce Brad Siegel to come up and take us away.
Great, thanks, Laura. Thanks, commissioners, council members. I'm Brad Siegel, my colleague Naomi Lacewell, providing you an update in terms of where we are with the project. You may remember this is 3 phases in this initiative. The first phase was a discovery phase to really understand what are the needs in Northwest Aurora and to determine how to best address those needs through some sort of special district or organization. And tonight, we're nearing the end of that first phase. The second phase would be a more detailed planning effort on the preferred options for moving Northwest Aurora forward. The third phase, and we would be back to you during the summer, the third phase would be potentially advancing a new special district in Northwest Aurora. And council action at that time in the summer would be a resolution that would put the issue on the ballot for the affected electors within Northwest Aurora. So with that, my colleague Naomi, she's going to talk a bit about the process we've been through, and then I will close the presentation with an evaluation of the different options and our recommendations not only to this body, but also to the community for moving forward. Naomi?
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for having us back. I'm Naomi Lacewell. I'm the project manager on this project, keeping us all moving forward in the right direction. We're going to go over a quick project overview of the scope, and I will be bringing you through the Phase 1 summary of work that's been going on so far over the last several months. And then we'll turn it back over to Brad, as he mentioned, to do a bit of our evaluation and the recommendation we're presenting to you and to the community and next steps. So as a reminder, project history and team. This project began almost a year ago, April 2024, with approving a project to move forward with looking at the evaluation of an entity or entities to advance these goals, as Brad mentioned. We've got our team, along with our legal counsel, Spencer Fain, and our urban designer, Studio Seed, who will become more intimately involved as the project progresses. And on the city side, we've got Laura Perry, Deputy City Manager, Janine Rustad, Director of Planning and Business Development, and Andrea Amanek with AURA. I will skip through these just since we've covered them a bit. It's a kind of a two in tandem goals of this project: to create an action plan that documents and the priorities that come out of the community, and then again look at how can we achieve those. Is there a particular organization or entity that could actually help achieve those in the area? So in terms of the area that we're talking about, the focus is on East Colfax, from Yosemite to Peoria and above and below a few blocks, 17th to 13th. Now, this is not, I want to clarify, this is not the boundaries of a potential district. This is simply our focus area for organizing feedback and asking folks to respond. We did originally end at Moline, but through feedback, we've looked a little bit further to Peoria. But again, this is not a district boundary, this is just the study area for the project currently. Brad mentioned the 3 phases, and we're currently moving from Phase 1 into Phase 2. The work in Phase 1 has been a lot about understanding the area, getting oriented, working through data, doing data analysis, reading previous plans, and community outreach, which I will go through over the next few slides. In Phase 2, as mentioned, we'll get more into detail in Phase 3, which happens if there is support to actually seem like to move forward with forming a district or other organization. That would happen later in the summer through November. So what have we been up to since we saw you all last? As I mentioned, we've reviewed previous plans. There's a lot of essential planning that's gone on in this area over the past years. We've been doing data analysis, property analysis, market analysis. We've researched and visited peer communities, including a tour to see the Englewood DDA that bears some similarities to the Colfax Avenue, especially that large, busy thoroughfare that goes through it. We took our working group there back in November. And we've been reviewing common themes from all the feedback that we've been getting from our various community touch points, which I'll show you on the next slide. And finally, we're at this point of evaluating how these possible organizations match up to actually accomplishing the priorities that are coming out of these conversations.
Bring them back into your device. So on this
So a summary of our outreach, this is as of March 24th. We've had a few more conversations since then. We are guided and very much appreciate the collaboration of our working group, which is a diverse member of stakeholders in the area, including property owners, small business, residents, nonprofit, city council, the arts, and the faith community. We've had tons of one-on-one or small group conversations, over 40 business and property owners alone, including 2 rounds of door-to-door business canvassing up and down Colfax. That was with the help of the Aurora South Metro SBDC. We've also spoken with 40 other organizations and city departments that work in the area. We have really been trying to go out into the community to events that we've been invited to. We've also hosted a couple of our own events, and cumulatively have reached over 400 people at these in-person events. The latest and biggest one being March 18th, which was a working group meeting, but it was beforehand we had an open house at North Middle School. Folks could come and learn and ask questions about the process. It was followed by the working group meeting, and we had over 125 people show up. It was pretty amazing. We have a project webpage that's had over 1,000 visitors. We have a survey out in 5 languages. It says we'll close it at the end of the March. However, we're going to keep it open. It's still really great feedback. We want to get as many responses as possible. Everything we've been developing has been in Spanish, at least, with other languages as identified, including business canvassing, public meetings, and as shown above, the community survey. So what have we been hearing? We've been hearing a strong emphasis on safety. What do people want to see in the area? Safety is absolutely a key common theme. Improving safety not only in terms of reducing crime, but also traffic safety. Colfax is a very dangerous traffic corridor. Folks want a better pedestrian environment. They want to feel safe walking up and down it and crossing it. Cleaning, maintenance, and beautification is also a very strong theme. In addition, loving and wanting to support and see furthered the arts and the creative economy in the area and the existing small businesses. People love the small businesses in the area. They're a huge draw, not just for the surrounding community, but for the surrounding region. They want to stay, they want to be supported. But there's also some gaps. There are empty storefronts, there are empty lots. People want to see new businesses coming in there. They want new jobs, new businesses, filling those empty storefronts and making them active. And above and beyond, business owners and residents, the people that have invested in this community and stayed despite some of the very real challenges, want to be able to continue to do so as the area improves. We know that there's a negative reputation. People really want to overcome that because there is so much going on here. There are incredible small businesses, there's incredible arts community, there's incredible community in general, there's a lot going on, but unfortunately there is a negative reputation that is keeping some investment away and keeping folks away. And in addition, because of all those amazing things going on and the organizations and businesses working in the area, there can be a bit of lack of coordination and synergy between them. And so communication and coordination between the entities and the different groups, the different businesses, and even city departments that are working in the area has been pointed out as a desired improvement. So now I'm going to turn it over to Brad to take it home.
Great, thanks, Naomi. So many of the themes you've heard are probably not new, are probably things you've heard for many, many years in terms of the Colfax Corridor and Northwest Aurora. So remember, our project has 2 parts. One is to put together essentially a plan of action of which the priorities should be in the area. But secondly, and importantly, and very different from past planning efforts, is to create an entity or entities that will actually foster change in the area. So that leads us to what are the key takeaways from all this discovery work, all this listening, all the data we've collected that could help us shape an organizational alternative or alternatives for the area. So number 1, we want to create a champion, an organization, an entity that's going to champion all of the interests in the Colfax corridor, and particularly the economic interests of the small businesses and the area in general, which leads to that second bullet, attract new investment and businesses to the area. Lots of vacancies, lots of opportunities to improve the area. Thirdly, we've heard loud and clear from existing residents, existing businesses, though, that they want to be part of this. They want to be part of a resurgence and a renaissance, if you will, for this part of town. So an organization that also benefits current businesses and residents and helps them stay in their neighborhood. Be able to fund and deliver a wide range of projects and services. There are a whole variety of things that are needed in this part of town. We want a strong partner with the city who's going to work hand in hand with the city on investments, on plans, on vision for the area. And then lastly, have an organization that is accountable, transparent, and reflects the whole variety of diverse interests that are populated in this part of town. So we looked at 3 options. We actually added a 4th option, which we'll show you tonight. So we looked at 3 different organizational options. The first one was a business improvement district. Many of you may be familiar with the Havana Business Improvement District, which is the one that exists in Aurora. There are many of these throughout the state. You find them in corridors, you find them in downtowns. With a business improvement district, it would be just commercial properties that would be participating. So state law governs this, restricts participation to commercial properties. It's led by a board of property and business owners that would be council appointed. And it's funded by an added tax or assessment. So the proposition to form a bid would also include an added tax or assessment, and a big question on the Colfax corridor is whether those businesses can actually afford that. I mentioned there are examples of business improvement districts throughout the metro area and on Colfax. So Colfax Avenue, where our office was located until just a couple weeks ago, we just moved. But the Colfax bid between Broadway and York has existed for almost 30 years. Mentioned Havana. I had the opportunity to work with Paul Suss and other of the auto dealerships out there 20 years ago. And at the time, it was really driven by the auto dealerships, but today the Havana bid, without question, is really benefiting all of the businesses in the corridor, and the area has really diversified, and a lot of new businesses have moved in. When you look at what bids do throughout the state, they deliver services. So cleaning, maintenance, safety, marketing, events, these are all examples of what business improvement districts do. Option number 2 that we've been looking at is the Downtown Development Authority. This is also governed by state statute, like a business improvement district, but it's different in several ways. One, it's not just commercial properties. It includes both commercial and residential properties. So everyone in a downtown area, in a neighborhood like Northwest Aurora, would be included in this. It is led by a council-appointed board of 5 to 11, again, stakeholders, property owners, businesses, residents within the affected area.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
When you speak of residential, is that multifamily residential or both multifamily and single family?
All the above.
Okay.
Yep. It has a very different funding source from a business improvement district. So with the council and the Aura commissioners, I'm assuming everyone around the table is fluent in tax increment financing. So a DDA is the only other entity in the state of Colorado that allows for tax increment financing. And tax increment financing is not a new tax or an added tax. What it allows us to do is capture future increases in property tax revenue, sales tax revenue. So as an area improves, as it prospers, and tax proceeds increase, the increment or the amount of revenue above the original base of the district is what we capture and we reinvest into the area. So very powerful tool. Also through a DDA, it also has an optional assessment, much like a bid. So a DDA is almost like a 2-for-1 with the tax increment financing opportunity and also the opportunity for an optional added tax for operations. There are about 24 DDAs throughout the state, all shapes and sizes. Castle Rock, Colorado Springs. Naomi mentioned we brought our working group down to Englewood. We thought there were some real parallels between South Broadway and East Colfax that our working group generally agreed with. We worked in downtown Denver last year. You may have read about the expansion of the Union Station DDA to serve the entire district. So there are precedents, but there are far fewer DDAs than there are business improvement districts. Different types of projects. DDAs can do services, but they also can do capital investment. So this is why a lot of communities have focused on a downtown development authority. So the connectivity you see up there, what that is, are intersection improvements, sidewalks, alleys. Naomi mentioned the concern with traffic safety up and down Colfax. That's the type of investment that can help there. Development, reuse, activation. So activating storefronts, potentially developing multifamily. DDA can be involved in that. Signage, gateways, art, and then on the service side, some of the same things you find in a bid, marketing and business services. Third option we've looked at is a community development corporation. nonprofit organization. There are a lot of nonprofits in Northwest Aurora. Almost all of them are focused on social services of one form or another. This would be very different because a community development corporation is focused on real estate. And it's focused on helping to acquire and renovate real estate for community benefit. And we have found that community development corporations can be useful either as standalones or in tandem with an organization like a DDA or even a BID. This is different, though, than the BID or the DDA. It's not governed by statute. It's an independent nonprofit organization, has a community-based board, has no dedicated source of funding. So the BID has an assessment or a tax. The DDA has tax increment financing, a tax. Community Development Corporation needs to raise money from foundations, from corporations, the grants, those types of things. We wanted to show you how this could potentially look in the future. And this has evolved in downtown Colorado Springs over 40 years. And you'll see Colorado Springs has all these tools under one umbrella in downtown. So the Downtown Ventures, that's their community development corporation. It's a C3, nonprofit. It is focused mostly on art. So fostering arts, culture, public art program. They have a business improvement district. They have a downtown development authority. And it's all held together by their downtown partnership. So just a glimpse of how this could potentially evolve in the future if we wanted to employ all the tools in the tool chest. But the caution is, it took 40 years to get there for them. And here's option 4. I mentioned that we had another option that we talked about at our public meeting a few weeks ago. No new organization. So we have a plan and the things that Naomi identified of the needs, but we tell the community, continue to rely on the city. And the city does good work out there, but the city has many, many agendas. The beauty of the first 3 options that we talked about today would be an organization, case of the BID and the DDA, not only have dedicated funding, but also have a dedicated focus on this part of town. So the BID, the DDA, focused on the boundaries of the area that they serve, this ongoing champion. The Community Development Corporation, similar, but again, doesn't carry the same funding tool. So we've gone through an analysis of comparing the community needs to these different organizations and what we think, what we recommend could work best. And also we've deliberated with our working group. We've deliberated with a couple council members that have been involved. Thank you, Councilmember Murillo. Thank you, Councilmember Gardner, who've been directly involved in this. The mayor, I've gotten to know your mayor more in the last 6 months, has been at a whole variety of the meetings. Not our meetings, but at community meetings throughout this area. So from listening to all of this, understanding this, looking at the data, and one reason you brought us in is just 30 years of doing this throughout the state. We've compared the DDA, the BID, the CDC, the no new organization option in a variety of ways. So the first table here is projects and services. Will it support existing businesses? Will it fill empty storefronts? Will it improve safety? Can it preserve and grow housing? Can it make the area safer and more walkable? And you'll see the DDA is yes, yes, yes. The CDC is yes, yes, maybe, if it can secure funding. The BID is yes, maybe, sometimes no, sometimes yes. We also looked at the characteristics of the organizations themselves to see how they could address these ongoing issues and needs in Northwest Aurora. Do they generate funding? Are they accountable? Are they flexible? Are they going to work closely hand in hand with the city? Are they going to create a new tax or assessment? So the DDA, mostly yes, optional on the new tax. The BID, mostly yes. The CDC, maybe. No new organization, well, you gotta sort of wait to be in line with everyone else in the city in terms of what's going on. So our recommendation to the community, to our working group, to council and the commission tonight is, as we go into phase 2, to really get into the details. Really get into the details of 2 preferred options. One is the Downtown Development Authority. The second one is the Community Development Corporation. The DDA is the primary driver here. It has the focus on downtown, on original Aurora, whatever you want to call it, Colfax Corridor. It has the tools, has the tax increment financing, has the potential for a mill levy for operations. It has a community stakeholder-driven board, businesses, property owners, residents appointed by council. And it's got the close connection with the city, so you have a true partner working hand in hand. We also think a CDC is worth investigating. We see it as closely affiliated with the DDA. Remember, the DDA has the tax increment, and it's got the opportunity for a potential mill levy. When it's partnered with CDC, then you also have philanthropic opportunities. So the opportunities for foundations, for corporations, a whole variety of philanthropic opportunities that can leverage the resources that are being pulled together for the community. So we think in tandem they address the priorities, can generate funding, create most flexibility. TIF doesn't add a tax. Again, we're capturing our future increases in property and sales tax revenue. Involves all community members. That's another reason on the DDA, because it's both residents and businesses. Builds strong partnership with the city, and we think these 2 options could complement one another. So I'll close. This is the last slide, right? Right. All right. So I'll close with just where we would like to go. What's that? One more slide after that. Okay, thank you. But this is where we'd like to go into phase 2. I mentioned we're at the tail end of phase 1. So phase 2, for a DDA, it requires a plan of development. A plan of development is essentially it's a business plan, what the DDA is going to do. So the plan of development identifies different bundles of improvements, some of the things that Naomi was talking about. It also gets into the operational details of the DDA itself. What are the boundaries going to be? What are the projections in terms of potential revenue? What are some of the initial investments and projects? All of that comes in the plan of development. The boundaries, we'll be honing in on that. I mentioned the calculation of potential TIF capture, also meeting with taxing authorities. So the good news is we're capturing future tax revenue from property and sales tax. The flip side of that is we're capturing future revenue that would have otherwise gone to the city, the 2 counties, and the schools. So it's really important to meet with the different taxing authorities so that they all understand that as we move forward. We'll look at how the DDA and potential CDC could complement each other. We'll look at bylaws and organizational documents. More community engagement. The engagement that we've been able to undertake since the first of the year is foundational, but we hope to build upon that. Evaluate support, identify potential champions. If a DDA moves forward, I mentioned this in the intro, it would require an election. It would require a Tabor election. The Tabor election would establish a DDA. It would authorize tax increment financing. Who votes on that? It's not citywide. It's just within the boundaries of the DDA. But within the boundaries of the DDA, we would identify, like any Tabor election, the electors. And the electors could be residents who are registered to vote. It could be property owners, including commercial property owners, can designate someone to vote on their behalf. It could be tenants. If you have a lease, you could potentially vote. So if this is going to move forward, it'll require champions from the community to actually go door to door and encourage their neighbors to vote for this thing. Also, we plan to be back here, provided we move forward after tonight. We plan to be back here June or July, with results from Phase 2 and recommendation, do we actually go forward into that election cycle? So this is where we started, just showing you these different phases where we are, different council touch points. We were here actually in the beginning of Phase 1 too, if you recall. We were at a joint meeting back in November. We're here today in April, planning to be back June, July. And with that, Laura, back to you or to the table for questions. Great.
Questions? Yeah, Councilmember Moreno. I'm sorry, Councilmember Bergen.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Sorry I'm not there in person. You did a lot of work, obviously, a lot of community engagement with both businesses and with different community groups. I guess, to me, I'm looking at all the points that you made, especially one of the most critical points being the ability to have funding and the ability to use TIF, tax increment financing to reinvest into the downtown area. Again, you made a lot of really good points on why a DDA makes sense in terms of the governance. I especially like the fact that it is both commercial and residential. So to me, it incorporates community as well as the business side of it. So I know you were recommending to do further investigation on both the CDC and the DDA, but honestly, I think you've done the work. I think it looks like the DDA is probably the best option, and I would encourage everyone to move forward with the DDA so that you can start this work, especially if you're going to try to get it on the November ballot. The community development organization would require fundraising. Also, I just want to mention some of the groups that have been involved with those community presentations don't even exist in the city of Aurora. A lot of them were part of Denver, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I think Food Justice was one of them as well. East Colfax Community Collective. Those are not Aurora organizations, so I don't even know why they were at the table to begin with. But I guess my decision would be to go for a DDA and not waste time exploring the other.
Mayor,
Councilmember Moreno.
just to clarify, it's Food Justice Northwest Aurora, which is wholly based in Aurora. East Colfax Community Collective is part of Northwest Aurora as well. So I just want to.
But there was also there was also Denver.
Councilmember Moreno has the floor.
Okay, well, she's wrong.
I'm not wrong. It's in the name, Francois. Food Justice Northwest Aurora. And if you look at the bylaws and the area of service for East Colfax Community Collective, it also includes the Aurora part of East Colfax. I can't speak to other organizations. I'm not part of their organizations. But I just want to be very clear that those organizations have many, many members. In fact, if not all, for Food Justice Northwest Aurora members in Aurora, and East Colfax has equal footprint in Denver and Aurora. So just want to be very clear that they're deeply rooted in communities in Aurora. And I just would encourage my council colleagues to continue with the recommendations for Puma. Obviously, there's more work to be done, but what I'm hearing, and I was actually at the community meetings, was a lot of concerns. No bid, DDA, or CDC will ever be able to address or rectify in terms of issues along the Colfax corridor. But what I did hear is folks wanting structures that really serve the various interests in the area. And I don't think a DDA alone does that. My understanding too is, not my understanding, I know for a fact that the East Colfax, especially Northwest Aurora, is a priority area for some of the largest foundations, the Colorado Health Foundation, the biggest foundation in Colorado. And they do have monies set aside specifically to go towards Northwest Aurora. For nonprofits. So we would be missing out on the potential for grants like capital grants or operating grants. So I really think we'd be missing out on an opportunity to compete for those monies, especially given that Northwest Aurora is their priority area. To me, I feel like we'd be missing out on something as opposed to gaining something.
A question for Puma staff, and that is, so do you bifurcate then if you had both? Would you bifurcate it along commercial lines versus residential lines between the Downtown Development Authority and the Community Development Authority?
Yeah, Mayor, if I understand your question correctly, the DDA would include both business and community members. The CDC could be structured in the same way. We really would like to see them be closely affiliated if both of these are created, so that they're unified in terms of their mission and their vision. And I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I think one of the key advantages, and Councilmember Murillo mentioned this too, is the CDC to us really helps diversify the funding for a DDA and potentially gives you a more effective toolbox.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Councilmember Lawson?
So just a question, because you mentioned Colorado Springs, and so I definitely think it would be difficult to have this in election in November, possibly if we went just with the DDA, because Colorado Springs is a little bit different dynamic. I mean, I've lived there, so I remember how that was done. So with getting people, the voters, and getting people, that would have to be determined by who. If we do the DDA, I'm just looking at that point, not including the CDC one. Does the council determine who the voters would be, or does the committee or whoever determines who the voters would be in deciding if the DDA? Because that's what I'm trying to say. You're saying it's an outreach, and I know that there in Colorado Springs, they did a campaign. I mean, it does take some time if you want to get individuals to be a part of the process and to understand. So I'm trying to navigate that a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. You're right on. It's kind of all the above, and that's, we don't know if we're there yet.
Okay.
And that's why we want to go through phase 2 and see if the fundamentals are there for this to be successful. Because to your point, you don't want to go to a vote and not be successful. You know,
right.
that would be counterproductive. So there's several elements involved. One is the state statute. So the state statute defines who the electors are.
Okay.
Secondly, you need a team. You need it like any campaign. I mean, the folks around the table are probably familiar with campaigns. You need a good ground game. You need a group of community members, community leaders, business people, property owners who are willing to knock on doors and convince their neighbors this is a good thing. So that's how we did it in Englewood recently. That's how we did it just last year in Lafayette. And I can't tell you yet today. Today it's too early to tell, and we would hope by midsummer we could come back and tell you, yeah, there's fundamentals here for success, or maybe we slow roll this because we're not there yet.
Okay, so Mayor, can I just do? So basically, you're not looking at this November. It would have to be something in the future after you navigate all of these.
We think November is potentially doable.
Potentially, okay.
Yeah, no, we think we are looking at November, but we want to be, we want to be straightforward with the
And just
community.
one more question, Mayor. So if this comes through, like you mentioned in the presentation, reputation, we have the BRT, Bus Rapid Transit, and as you know from the Denver side, it has interrupted businesses and things like that. Is that something that you're talking about? I know it's not part of this exactly, but it is an issue that's going to take some people need to discuss, because otherwise businesses are struggling in some areas because of the BRT, which is a good thing, but I'm just asking, is this part of the conversation as well?
Naomi, do you want to kick that off?
Absolutely. I'll say yes, absolutely. And we just wrapped up last year working actually with the Colfax bid. to prepare, and they are under construction right now. And, with the center running construction there, it's pretty drastic. The bid themselves have been incredible partners in supporting the businesses and helping them navigate and connect to actually the resources that are available to them from the project itself. So, it would be a near-term thing, but as Brad was mentioning in this plan of development, it's this work plan, and you can think about things that are a little more near-term. BRT isn't going to last forever, but it is coming up. And so having an extra entity to advocate for and gather resources and spread information with the Business Improvement District on Colfax, we've seen how helpful that has been there.
So what does the governance look like in terms of the Downtown Business Authority and the community nonprofit?
Sure. The difference in governance. So the Downtown Development Authority is quasi-governmental. It's a creature of state statute. The DDA can have a board of 5 to 11 members. The DDA board members must have an interest within the area affected. So property owners, business owners with a lease, someone who lives there. And then council would appoint that board. So the DDA is a city council appointed board. The Community Development Corporation is an independent nonprofit. It develops its own bylaws. It has its own procedures for nominating board members. And we would try to outline that out in this process.
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. Just on the nonprofit, the way we can influence the way that those bylaws are created, right? Like we can decide and put parameters on the focus, the structure. Is that not right?
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that in the planning. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so there can be an explicit connection between the CDC and the DDA, and the added point about it not just being, it can also encompass a business aspect or a business impact as well.
Commissioner Watson, and then Commissioner Bergen.
Just to go along with the conversation, I understand my friend and colleague, Francois Bergen, in reference to the DDA, and I think that from all the discussions and making the different meetings, the DDA, based on also what Pluma's saying, is for sure one of the avenues that we should take. It has the best potential for providing benefits to the community, both the safety issues, because they can then work as with, give you an example, for Havana. They have their own security, but an additional part that could be developed out of the DDA. But the challenge that we've seen and we've noticed when meeting with the citizens directly, one thing that the city is doing that has not been done before is that the city has provided city leadership. The deputy city manager has made the meetings with the community. So we have the city engagement, and the people appreciate that. And so the meetings that we've had, they have supported the process and are willing to vote for this process, I believe, at this point when it is presented to the ballot. The other side of that conversation refers to something that Councilmember Murillo, or Commissioner Murillo, is saying. The CDC has some benefits. An example with some of the nonprofits would, I believe, help fund this. I, as a part of the AURA, and attended a meeting in Boston, Massachusetts, where we went to review a CDC, and a member of the Colorado Health Foundation was a part of that meeting because they wanted to see how a CDC could work within Northwest Aurora, because they're hoping to provide funding if that avenue is presented. And so that's why the idea is what Pluma was suggesting, a DDA and a CDC. And there are certain other members say that, well, the potential, because moving toward the Anschutz campus from Havana, the potential might be for something of a CDC relationship. From Havana to Yosemite will be the DDA, because it's not just one. We could have both in a similar area, but that discussion is being had currently. So that's why I think going into phase 2 helps tie that down a little better. Yes, I believe we can all kind of support the idea of the DDA, but how then do these two entities work together? I think going into the second phase would present a lot better clarity for that process.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Bergen. Commissioner
Yeah,
Bergen.
Thanks. I have a question on the DDA, because you said that council would appoint a board of 5 to, I think, 11 members. So would nonprofit members be eligible to be appointed to that board?
That's a good question. I'm kind of looking at your city attorney. So,
I would think so.
yeah, because if they own property, sure, they could be an elector. If they have a lease, sure,
Right.
they could be an elector.
So two of the ones mentioned do have property apparently in Aurora, so they would be eligible to be on the board. I guess
In the district.
if a nonprofit wants
In the
to,
district.
Yeah.
in the district, right, if a nonprofit wanted to raise money, they certainly, no one's stopping them from raising money. I understand what is being said about the, maybe having the nonprofit, but I just think at this point, we should get moving on the DDA. We can always incorporate the nonprofits at a later point.
For the Commissioner Gardner.
Of course, the nonprofit can raise money at any time, but by establishing a CDC, a nonprofit can accept grants, corporate giving, and other specific for this project, this area, this plan that's developed outside of what their normal mission is. The funds raised for CDC would be specific for projects and housing in this area. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I think, Councilman Gardner, you're building on what Councilmember Murillo stated a little bit earlier, is that in phase 2, we have the opportunity to craft what the CDC could look like. So our intention in our recommendation is that the DDA, as I mentioned in the presentation, really is the driver here, but the CDC could be a very valuable affiliate working in lockstep with the DDA. And diversifying funding, and then also, if necessary, working outside the boundaries of the DDA.
Mayor.
Councilmember Murillo.
Gotcha. And the DDA and the CDC would be pursued in tandem, right? We don't have to wait on, because that's what I've heard from some of my colleagues. Let's get started on the CDC, or sorry, the DDA. But those could be done in tandem. Is that correct?
That's correct, and in phase 2, we think we can walk and chew gum at the same time here for the next few months. So we're planning to develop both ideas to concept. However, to Councilmember Bergen's point, if we do find in the summer that the DDA makes sense, and we do want to encourage the community to move forward with it, and if the CDC would in any way impede or slow that effort, it could come later. It could come afterwards.
Further questions or comments? And this is for information only. In study session, we'll be making a decision. Very well. Seeing no further discussion and no other issues before the Aurora Urban Renewal Authority regular meeting, the meeting is adjourned, and we will go right into executive session. Aye.